All right, welcome. Um, I have some things that I want to say about the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction that I don't always get to say as we do cards, right? For the weekly What's Up or whatever's going on. So I want to have a conversation about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that's coming up and talk a little bit about what that means and kind of how we got here, why it's significant, and what it means for the future, right? I am not a prognosticator, by the way. There are plenty of astrologers who love to look far out, who love to really dig into those in 3,000 years. This is what's going to happen cycles, and bless them, right? Less for me to do in terms of that. But I want to talk about how it deals with our current energy, right? And our near future, okay? So, first of all, what is the Jupiter Saturn conjunction? Okay, so on the 21st of December of 2020, the winter solstice happens, and Jupiter and Saturn will be conjunct at 0 degrees of Aquarius. At the same time, the winter solstice, which is the sun moving into Capricorn, so at 0 degrees Capricorn, will also be conjunct Mercury, right, at 0 degrees Capricorn. So right now, we've got Saturn and Jupiter at 29 degrees. Well, now they're at 0, but they've been at, moving forward, 29 degrees, now 0 degrees. And then we have the sun and Mercury doing, so we've got this little promenade, right, this little astral galactic promenade, which is kind of fun and exciting. So Mercury and the Sun are personal planets, okay? Saturn and Jupiter are what we call social planets. And what that means is that they deal with our social structure and how we individually put ourselves within that social structure. Okay, so let's talk about Jupiter first. Jupiter's energy is that of a benefic, right? And what that means is it's good, right? I don't subscribe to good or bad energy. It simply exists, right? What we do with it, what we choose to do with it, how we choose to interact and exist within it is our choice. It's our will. We always have will. Astrology can only show us tendencies, trends, right? What we do with that energy is always, always, always up to us. Miracle. So Jupiter is a benefic, right? It's about expansion and growth and evolution and blessings and abundance, and also a little bit about like that kind of like, yeah, I can do that. Jupiter also tends to like overpromise and overextend, right? So a lot of the energetics around Jupiter are kind of this like unchecked expansion, and I just feel compelled to make the analogy that what happens when there's unchecked growth in a cell is that you get cancer, right? And it overtakes a system or an organ or whatever. So unchecked growth is not a good thing. There has to be some kind of order. Otherwise you have chaos, right? On an individual level, on a structural level, on every level, honestly. There is such a thing as too much growth. Change my mind. So that's Jupiter, right? Saturn is the check. Okay, he's the check. Saturn is about rules and boundaries and restrictions. And here's the deal. If you don't want external rules and boundaries and restrictions, then you have to impose your own on yourself. So what that means, the way that I always phrase it is, if you know that by waking up at 5 a.m., running 2 miles and drinking orange juice every morning, you have a qualitatively better day than if you do not do those things, and you choose to do those things in order to have a qualitatively better day, week, month, life, you are living within rules, boundaries, and restrictions. They're simply your own. Okay, so we can't get away from rules, boundaries, and restrictions. I have friends who claim anarchist, right? That's great. But here's the deal, we live in a world where there are other people. You can be a sovereign being, but you still live within society. So, insofar as your world touches someone else's world, you've got to find a way to balance that. You've got to find a way to harmonize that. You've got to find a way to work together in the areas where you're able, right? Because nobody can do everything for themselves. It just doesn't work that way. So that's Saturn. Also, Saturn is an earth sign. And what that means is that Saturn is concerned very much with structure and with usability and with function and with form and with order and with authority, right? Internal authority or external authority. Jupiter is not so much concerned with those things. Jupiter's kind of like, yeah, whatever. So these are our social planets, our structures, and how we fit into them. And what we've discovered in the last 20-ish years is that in the last 250 years, while these two social planets have been in earth signs predominantly, other than a little bit of a blip here and there in terms of like retrograding, we have, as a society, created structures and orders and rules and restrictions and boundaries and laws. And we've created them very systemically. However, we did not take into account the expansion and the way that each person has to live within them. And so perhaps over the last 20 years, but especially over the last few, we have come to realize as a collective that not all of the systems, not all of the structures, not all of the beliefs, not all of the rules are just and fair and balanced, right? And so those things, that overreach, right? Saturn and Jupiter together, that overreach, that overextension, that unchecked growth without like, wait, is that working? Is that actually working on a collective level, right? So we have been witnessing the ways where, as a society, as a globe, and as individuals, we have been saying things like, we don't have a structure for that. That structure is not welcoming for that. This set of beliefs doesn't take into account X, Y, and Z. This, the way this process is done doesn't really support A, B, or C. And so what's been happening in the last 20, but especially the last 3 years, is that all of those social planets have been lit up by Pluto. And Pluto is a generational planet, right? So Pluto is coming through Capricorn. And Pluto is about Pluto, the Lord of Hades, right? What is underneath, what is shoved down, what lies buried, what is in the closet, all those things that we shoved under the rug, didn't deal with, or didn't recognize, or didn't want to claim simply because it was an inconvenient time. So here we are at our Saturn and Jupiter table, right? Our social table dealing with our business. And so Pluto just starts throwing things up. And all of a sudden, some big giant thing will land in this table of social workings. And we have to, oh my gosh, we have to process this thing, whatever it is. We have to look at it. We have to assess it, right? We have to make judgments about it. Whatever your Pluto sign is how you're going to look at that, whether it's Pluto in Leo or Libra or Virgo or whatever. How you process all of that information that has come to light in the last 20 years to 20 minutes is about, that's your generational energetic signal, right? That's how you're going to process that transformational energy. What we do with it, though, is about Saturn and Jupiter. How we deal with it in terms of our collective structure is Saturn and Jupiter. And Saturn and Jupiter's been in Capricorn. Doesn't want to change. Very conservative, very traditional, very much this is how it is. This is how it's always going to be. This is how it's this is how it's supposed to be done, of course, you know. You don't question, you don't change, you simply keep doing, right? This is the way things work well. That social energy is about to shift and change. It's about to move into 0 degrees Aquarius, and it's about to begin a next 200-year cycle of this conjunction being in air signs, right? We've moved from 250 years of earth sign, you know, doing, amassing, hoarding, right? Into now, we're going to be all about interacting, right? We're going to be all about communication. And Aquarius is the 3rd air sign. So Aquarius is about how you take your actuated individual self and place it into the larger structure of community, of group, of collective consciousness, right? How do we serve the greater good, right? While the earth sign has been all about how do I serve me? How do I make sure that my stock is as much as I need for the winter? How do I make sure that my abundance is over and above what I require? How do I care for everyone in my, right? My. Aquarius is going to expand that picture of who and what we are as individuals, as society, as nations, as a globe, hopefully as a galaxy, right? There will be less in terms of exploitation, and I'm not using that in the negatively connotation way. You can use it that way if you'd like, in terms of resource exploitation, right? Whether that's people, whether that's earth resources, whether that's something that you create and then use in a however you use it, right? However you use it, you're exploiting a thing. So this next movement of energy is going to be really about what we witness as wealth versus what we witness as worth, right? We have an idea of what wealth looks like. And I don't simply mean what's in your bank account, right? I mean your self-worth. I mean your self-esteem. I mean how you are valued as a human being. We value people on very rigid, very unyielding scales, right? Almost brutal right now. Your value is boxed in, right? And it doesn't really matter who you are. Well, that shift is about to happen as we move into this Aquarius energy. So this 0 degree is an ingress of Aquarius energy. This is burgeoning, it's exciting, it's about literally laying the foundation for what comes next. And what comes next is always up to us, right? So as we get into this air energy, interpersonal, right? Communication, interaction, inclusion. Aquarius is the innovator, it's the inventor. So expect a lot of things to shift and change. Expect there to be a lot of newness, right? New ideas. And where Capricorn energy doesn't really want to talk about anything that is different or outside the norm, right? We witness this in our own conversations. We witness this in the overarching conversations that we witness everywhere, in the media, in social media, in the news. This whole intolerance of different beliefs is going to shift and change. It's going to have to. Air signs want to communicate. They want to talk about ideas. They want to communicate. They want to process information, take in information. Air signs are all about possibility, right? Possibility. What's possible? What if? And not what if that the earth signs have. Air signs are like, what if? Right? So there's a curiosity to this energy. There's an excitement. There's an element of discovery. Whereas Capricorn, this earth energy we've been in for the last 250 years, we want to discover something so we can use it, right? We want to discover a new element so we can use it. We want to discover something on Mars so that we can drill for water. I mean, really. air sign energy is going to feel very different in terms of both individual and the collective. What if? What if we found this so that we could that, right? And it's going to be about the greater good, the collective good. Now, that is not to say it's not going to be exciting for the next couple of years. And by exciting, I mean like buckle up. But the way we ride this shift, the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? So the longer we sit in resistance, the longer we stubborn up in this Capricorn old energy, we only drag ourselves backwards with our own resistance. We have a beautiful natural kind of easement in this solstice energy, right? We've got the Sun and Mercury both at 0 degrees of Capricorn, just as we have Saturn and Jupiter at 0 degrees Aquarius. This is a personal easement to this giant social conjunction, right? This energy is seismic, it's tectonic, it's going to change. This is giving you the opportunity to ease yourself into it. And as I say all the time, what comes next is up to us. It's up to us as the collective and as individuals. If you know that widened communication is going to be something that you're going to need to get used to, start listening more and talking less, right? I mean, gather more information, start gathering data. Air signs love science, they love facts, right? Not what I tell you, but what you've learned on your own. It's about the information processing. I take in information, I test it out, and then I can give it back. Earth energy is like, oh, okay. How can I put that to work, right? There's going to be much, much less of that. Aquarius also has to do with technology, right? So expect some amazing discoveries in terms of technology in the last 20 years. Not that there haven't been in the last 20, right? But what I'm saying is, it's going to be pretty amazing. The last time Saturn, let me think about this. Jupiter moved into Saturn. Jupiter moved in. No, never mind. I'm not even going to talk about that. I can't get it right, so I'm not going to say it. Worth versus wealth, guys. That's really, really what's about to happen. And I just really wanted to get something said about it because so many people are like, oh my gosh, is this going to mess me up? Oh my gosh, how is this going to mess my life up? Oh my gosh, where am I going to have to learn to deal with this? Well, here's the deal. If you look in your chart, wherever Capricorn and Aquarius meet, that's the house that's going to have something going on. Look at those areas of your life. Look and see if there's any planets that are affected. And if you have any questions, ask. Other than that, there's a lot of other things going on. And I definitely have more to say about what's happening in January. It's going to be exciting. But what's life without excitement, right? Again, the less resistance, right? The more you allow this energy to come in, and the less you drag the old stuff with you, right? We've been talking about release for so long that it's trite at this point. Release what no longer serves you. It's true, but you've only heard it 3 million times in the last 3 years. So if you haven't put it down by now, ask yourself why, right? Ask yourself why. And move into that area of detachment and flow as opposed to resistance. Your experience will be much more enjoyable, and it will position you much much more comfortably, right, to be in receipt of this new energy. I mean, just imagine, you know, that you have a crystal goblet, right? And it's been sitting there on your table for years. And all of a sudden, someone begins to sing that note, right? And as the vibration around it increases, that goblet just bursts. Well, here's what's happening. The vibration, the frequency of this energy is completely different. It's not higher, right? There's no higher in the universe. There's just different. And so as such, what's happening is that this structure, right, this goblet, this crystallized structure that's been standing unquestioned for 250 years is shattered, right? It's shattered. I also say the only thing left of 3D is your memory of it. Again, the less you're in resistance to what's happening, the better off you're going to be. So, I mean, the goblet is broken. You cannot put it back together. You can only find a new way to contain whatever it is you'd like to contain, or not contain it at all, right? That's up to you. So as we welcome this Aquarius energy, just remember, this is all about dynamic, it's about ideas, it's about communication. So listen, have conversations, open up your awareness of what is possible, and get really, really, really comfortable with saying, what if? What if? Even if it's implausible, entertain the idea. You don't have to build it, nobody's asking you to. Just imagine, right? What if? What if you did? What if you did? We'll talk about that more. Have a great day.